We are jumping in today with a new guest episode today, talking about party coaching, which is super cool and I'm super jazzed about. So we are going to go pure authenticity and jump right in.
It's the best. Yeah.
It's the best way to do
Best thing
it.
to start. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, I love the concept of party culture making life a party. So obviously, dose of feel good. We want to encourage our listeners to do the things in life that make them feel good. So if you want to tell us a little bit about not only your podcast, but a little bit about kind of what gives you energy, brings you joy, but then also kind of the things that you do and want to share with the audience a little bit before we jump into all of the other feel good things.
Yeah. What's coming up for me right away is so when I hear dose of feel good, I wonder if you've explored this, but for me, one of the reasons why I needed to become a party coach is because for me, the dose of partying that I was experiencing, I was giving myself way too high a dose. I was the person who could never leave the party, right? And like any dose can be toxic in too high a dose, right? If you drink too much water, you die. And if you get too much feel good, you die, right? And so I let's start in the darkness of too much trying to feel good, too much trying to party, or too much forcing a party is what created for me the necessity to realize what was I seeking for in the party scene, the things that I was consuming, be it alcohol or drugs, were those part of what eventually, was I seeking those instead of some other things that I was trying to connect with? And then finally, this idea of what does it mean to love life to the fullest? And it means to accept suffering.
Yeah.
It means to accept grief and boredom. It means to embrace the mundane so that we can experience the party and the feel good and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things to jump into there, but I think one of the things I want to start with, because even as I started the podcast, like you think of dose of feel good, and one of the things that I started to reiterate was that like not everything in life feels good. Not everything is. And I love that you kind of started with that of like not everything in life is a party, or even like approaching the party scene that like some of us, me being one of those people, we don't ever want to leave the party. We always want it to feel good, right? We always want to be in that space. It's not always going to be that way. So like approaching even like and I would love for you to explain more of like what a party coach is, cuz like that balance, right? Like you have to offset it, cuz I think if you don't have the lows, then it's not always going to feel high, right? Like if you don't have the opposite, then like it's not always going to feel good. You're not going to know what that good feeling is if you're not experiencing the other end of it. So anyways, I think if you could explain more of kind of your experience there, or as a party coach, how do you help people kind of understand that balance?
So to begin, for anyone listening here, well, I call myself a party coach. It was a name that was given to me by some of my clients as I was just doing some other type of coaching. I want to start with the party itself is the coach, right? So like if you think about the party as the arena where we go to take all the things that we might be learning in therapy or personal development or spirituality or all the things we save on TikTok of I have ADHD or whatever the thing that you are, the labels that you are taking on and the things you are working on, unless you have an arena in which to practice and integrate those things, they basically don't exist. So when I talk about the party coach, I just want to start with the party is the coach. You have a party coach and it's the party. And that can be your child's birthday party. Yes, it could be a rave. It could be that corporate event that you have to go to that has fun activities that feels miserable. And I'm not saying you have to make those fun, but if you have already created a story and you are so walled off and blocked off from the world that you cannot make fun or can make something uh, a learning experience for you, then you're perhaps not as. I just saw a tweet the other day. If you're so smart, why are you not having fun?
Oh, yes, I love that. The too cool for school
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
Yeah. It's not real.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I sometimes feel like the fake it till we make it mentality, but sometimes like that is the reality. Like we have to go
yeah,
into it of like sometimes we don't want to be there, we don't want to be present. But if we fake it enough, eventually we're like, oh, I do want to be there. And there's then people in our atmospheres or around us that are in that space of they don't want to be there. But if everybody else is faking it till they make it, eventually we're all going to make our own party,
yes.
right? We're all going to be in that space.
Nearly
So
everyone I know who has acted their way into new ways of thinking has succeeded. Almost everyone I know who has tried to think their way into better acting has failed. So we
man,
really praise our brains and we think about them as these really powerful things. I was praised for my brain, for my smartness. I went to a college that their our unofficial motto was where fun comes to die, because we
oh
loved to spend time in the library. And it literally was a place that prided itself on being so intellectual that we wouldn't do it. And so the long history for me of loving my brain and all the things I can think about, but learning that so much of the great things in my life are the result of acting without letting the brain take over has been one of the most liberating experiences for me.
yeah. Well, and I love that approach of just like even making life a party and just the little moments too of like I work in a college space for my day job, and I work one of the colleges I work for is an engineering college, and they
Mm-hmm.
pride themselves on we have titled it competitive misery. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we have titled
Mm-hmm.
it. But it's that very similar piece, and I think helping young people, adults, whoever, try to find like those little party moments. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be hours. It doesn't have to be a 3 hour thing that you're doing. But like, so if you want to share, like, how do you help people find like what are those little things they can do where they're recognizing that like the everyday things that they can do to make life a party or those practical tips that they can kind of start to connect the dots that it doesn't have to be this big thing that they overthink that you just mentioned of like take yourself out of that headspace, not overthinking those things to do to make either life feel good or party or however they want to word that.
So one thing to start with is the idea of meaningful. What is meaningful in your life? And I'm careful not to use purpose because I think purpose comes and goes and flows. But for the engineering student or someone who's listening to this, right? The work that you are doing, there's something very meaningful about the friction and the struggle that you are working through there. And I don't want to take away from that at all. But the meaningful moments in our lives can be when we let go of that need to like make the meaning ourselves, when we go make the meaning for someone else, right? So if you see somebody else around you that's struggling, that person who's sitting alone at the cafeteria, the person who is in your class is maybe is struggling, is behind everyone else. If you can go find a way to make their life better, like provide some fun for them. I often find smart people are better at, as a starting point, trying to help and give away other things than like the concept of trying to have fun for yourself is seems so frivolous that it's like, why would I do
Mm,
that? So I think a good starting place is you can create a lot of meaning in your life by going and helping other people have fun or feel like they belong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's easier for us to wrap our heads around that, especially because as humans, we put ourselves last. That's just how we're built, right? Like we don't put
Hmm.
ourselves in that headspace of oh, I have to put myself first, take care of ourselves, which is ironic because we're also selfish human beings, where we are also in our head of like, oh, I don't want to make myself look silly or whatever. And so then don't want to embarrass ourselves. So it's like this weird dynamic that we're in. We think everybody's watching us, and I'm like, no one's paying attention to what you're doing because we're so wrapped up in ourselves. So, anyways, very odd dynamic that
Hmm.
we are as human beings, for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, if you're willing to share a little bit, so like, what is something that like has really worked for you, like personally, of like one thing that you're like, this was life changing for me as a practice that either you do on the daily now, or that you were like, oh, this was my aha moment that I knew I needed to make. Whether it's party culture, feel good culture, however you want to word it, that like this was something that I knew I needed to share with the world to make, I always say, to make the world better. I don't believe that one person can change the world. Slightly. I do sometimes believe that. I think we can change one person's world. I don't know if we can change the entire world. But like, what is that? Maybe like one thing that you were like, this is what I was meant to do, and impact people.
So I agree. And I often struggle with my desires to save the world. Growing up, I was obsessed with these myth, like the Epic of Gilgamesh was one of my favorite things, which is this epic of this half god or one third god human who scrawls his story down, and then we read it 3,000 years later. And I was like, I'm good. That's me. Like I'm going to create this epic thing in the world. And what changed for me is when I realized when I was really struggling in my life, whether that was, my after my mom died, she had been very sick. I've had, all it's just litanies of failures. I've been so many failed companies and jobs and friends and lovers and all those things that when I would go out to a party, and usually it was one person would be have an open heart that allowed me to like dance with them for that night, or they invited me to an after party afterwards, and I got to spend time
Mm,
with people instead of sitting home at my apartment, probably abusing drugs and alcohol. Like I know I would be dead without the party
mm,
scene, because my tendency to isolate and to say nobody wants to hear me about this, that nobody wants to, I'm a burden on the world.
yeah.
And the party scene consistently gave me a place where I had a place to go. And so when I talk about, what is my mission, I'm reconnecting humanity one partier at a time. So like
Yeah.
you and me talking here today, this just fills me with, this makes me happy, and I know
I
you're
love
already doing this kind of work, but this is a real connection we're having right now. Even if nobody listens to this, like you and I got to have this moment here today, right now, that, 10 years down the road, like we might, meet at some dance floor, or you're like, yo, I met that party coach one time and I need a place in Chicago. Like I will pick up the phone, right?
Yeah,
And know that I
yeah,
will do that because we're having this experience right now. And
yeah,
so that's why I do what I do, because the tendency to isolate and to pull away, the party scene is an arena where we get to do these things.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's super beautiful because I always say, like, we never really truly understand the impact of what we sometimes figure are small interactions. Whenever I talk with folks, I say we think they're small, tiny little things. But I know for me, what truly saved my life are the small interactions. They're not the things that are monumental. in my life, they are the small things that like people showed up and they just took time for me, what
Mm-hmm.
in all sorts of different spaces. And so I think that's super awesome. And I also say, if it just impacts one person, then it makes a difference. And
Yeah.
I also say this will get out to more than one person. So
Yes. 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 Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we're really hard on ourselves, but I'm like, yeah. And I also think it's super cool that like sometimes there's like a stigma around the party scene, right? Like there is like this stigma. I talk about this a lot with, I work with fraternity and sorority lives, and we talk a lot about that. But there's also a beauty in the connection, right? There is that flip side of it that like, it provides spaces for true connection and some really great authentic conversations that you can continue to come back to. And I think sometimes gives us the confidence that we might not have in other spaces to be able to build those connections. So I think there's always a balance. Yeah, but
Yeah. And just on that point, we don't need to go too much into it, but yes, while it is undeniably true that there are some people that maybe find themselves in this party scene, they stay too long, and it is damaging to them. I think the bias of a lot of people that are prone to like isolation and self-destruction find their way to the party scene as a place where they can shamelessly be themselves and like be kind of messy and grief or weird, that they find themselves there is is better than 90% of the 95% of the alternatives, because the kumbaya, like let's have some group therapy and sit around, like I did not want to do that in my 20s. Like you would
yeah.
couldn't have dragged me there, and I needed a place that was cool, right? But I'm always wary of when society starts to come down on raves or parties or even things like fraternities. That I was part of a fraternity that, while there were some toxic things, like we learned how to be really loyal to each other.
Mm,
And like when I've really I felt like I couldn't call anybody, I've called some of my fraternity brothers who have seen me in like really compromising crazy places, and I trust them 100%.
mm,
And I don't know how many people have that in their lives. I don't think a lot of people do. I have 50, 60 people that like I would honestly trust with my
yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, and we talk a lot about there's then also that accountability piece. Like when you create those true connections, they're going to one, hold you accountable, and two, they're not going to allow you to isolate, right? Like they're going to pick up on
Mhm.
those things that like when you pull away, they're going to say, "Nope, I'm going to bring you into this so that I'm not going to allow you to do that." Right? And I know I was not part of any sort of Greek system at all, and I'm like, I know now as myself, I need someone to pull me out of the trenches because I'm not someone to ask for help. So I think there
Yeah.
is that there might be people that use that as a coping piece, but it's also like I'm going to hold you accountable of like might not be ready to ask for help, but also I'm going to be there when you're in the trenches and I'm at least going to see you
Yeah.
through that, right? Like so I think there's that piece.
And I don't know how many people know this, but a big piece of many fraternities pledging, but is the pledge class is only as strong as the weakest link. And so a big part of pledging is you going through these physical, mental, sometimes you have to sing songs, you have to memorize things really quickly. You like it's like the whole pledge class, if one person can't do it, everybody else still does the push-ups. And so it really teaches you, like, we would sit down with a person who was a little bit weaker at memorization, or I was off doing a bunch of other crazy, and my pledge class had to come together with me. And I think it teaches something that you don't get in a lot of places, even team sports. Like the weakest person gets cut, you know and in academics, the weak people get cut out. And what does it mean to create something where we really believe in there's something that's tying us together, and that actually makes us stronger, because that person 5 years down the road literally those people in my pledge class is like now a state senator, and it's like things like that start to happen where it's really cool to see when we, don't shoot our wounded.
Yeah. Bring them alongside you rather than
Yeah.
putting them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Treating them as an other. That's one of the main things that
Hmm.
I like to kind of word in that way. Yeah. Um, all right. I like to keep these short and sweet because my ADHD brain cannot focus much
Yep.
longer than 20 minutes. So, but I do want to ask if there was one feel good message that you were like, I need people to listen to this piece. I want to give you that nugget to be able to share with listeners of like, if you take nothing else away, I want you to hear this piece. What would you want to share?
Partying is not a luxury. Survival is insufficient. We need we need these like human to human moments to make like life,
Yeah.
and allow your ego to be absorbed into the party. Even if you can't give, allow yourself to receive.
Mhm.
Look up Eventbrite this weekend, or go on. There's a site called Resident Advisor that has a lot of like underground parties in it. But if you go to one of these this weekend, next weekend, if you're listening to this, I almost guarantee you will be surprised that there's a whole community out there that is just waiting to find somebody like you.
Beautiful. I love that. And I'm gonna add a little plug for the small town folks because
Yeah.
we don't even have clubs out here, y'all. So I always like to tell folks, push yourself a little bit, even if that means going to dinner alone and talking to your waitress. That counts. That counts.
Yes.
There's so many people I
Yes.
know that won't even go to dinner by themselves because they're scared to have to talk to people they don't know. Go to a coffee shop, talk to people you don't know. Those count as well.
Yes.
So,
Well,
um,
and there's, and when I'm from kind of a smaller town, like the Facebook groups and like the community groups that are there, like everyone, there's always there's witches that are doing moon circles, and like there's all kinds of weirdos that are doing cool stuff all over the place. Like, don't close yourself off from those things too. Like,
yeah,
there's people that are go to the library. The library often has a bunch of cool little community things too.
yeah. Go do things alone. It isn't
Yeah.
weird, I promise. So,
Yes.
yeah, beautiful. So last piece, how can people follow you, learn more about what you do, those types of things?
Beautiful. So the site is called partycoach.me, and we are always accepting people into our group. It's called the Party Within. You can join. We have a group of people that are practicing these principles. Would love to have you in there. And then if you just search Party Coach on TikTok or Instagram, there's usually videos of me dancing to silly music.
I love that. And I will share all of this as well in some social media posts. I'll have it tagged in the description as well. So if you're like me and you're like, wait, what was that? I don't know. I will have all of it written out for y'all as well. But in the meantime, thank you, Evan, for joining us today. It was a pleasure. And this, I have to leave. I always do a to do as people leave. So
Mm-hmm.
your to do is take a dance break. That's what is the theme, the vibe for today is to take a dance break, whatever the vibe is. Yep. And I'm going to also share it with us. So share it with at Dosa Feel Good. And we would love to see you dancing. So yeah, with that, have a beautiful week, y'all.
Perfect. Just the right dose of feel good for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.